What is up, guys? It's Miggy, Miggy, and welcome back to another episode of The Hobby Hole. I know it's been a while since our last episode, but I just want to do a quick episode. And our topic, it's going to be Beyblade. With that being said, I'm going to be talking about two topics, and I know it's going to be a very hot topic for everyone in the community. It's going to be about power creep and spirit base. I want to talk about both of these topics because they do go hand in hand with one another. So, without further ado, let's break it down. So, first things first, what is power creep? Power creep is basically when a Beyblade, such as Shark Edge, one of the early releases, is suddenly seen or deemed as obsolete compared to later releases or newer releases, such as Pegasus Blast. So power creep exists because, of course, as Beyblade is a physical game, it's gear sports. You know that you always have to be coming out with new products. It is a toy line, so you want to make sure that you always have everyone's attention. And with that goes without saying. So it comes in two types, I'd say. This is an old release versus a new release. And then there's also old mold versus new mold. So looking at this, right? This is Dran Dagger, the older release one, or the earlier release model is around 2 grams lighter than the newer release model. This is coming from the recent booster box or random booster pack, and this is from the deck set. And if you guys have checked the weighing scale, chances are you're gonna see that the newer model is 2 grams heavier than the older model. So what happens is it makes you not want to be using this or buying this set because the newer one is a lot better, a lot heavier at least. And yeah, it kind of affects gameplay. And power creep is such a big deal here in Beyblade because yeah, this is an earlier release Beyblade. Everyone loved it. It was an attack type. You know that when you're facing this, you're gonna be terrified. But when they release the CX line, it's a lot heavier, it's a lot bulkier. People are expecting this to burst finish the CX line, but because of the weight, because of the new release, because of how the tech is, it's a lot more up to date. It just happens that when you face this matchup, because of power creep, again, because it's a newer model, Shark Edge has become a bit more obsolete. So what happens is, chances are, if you're put into this matchup, you're gonna be losing Shark Edge in the spin battle. So you're automatically, or at least majority of the time, you feel like you're gonna be giving a point to your opponent when this matchup happens. I want to talk about power creep because honestly, it's the first time in the game that you feel it a lot more. CX versus BX is a lot more noticeable versus how competitive BX and UX was to each other. And with the CX line, you feel it. It as much as you want to play your favorite Beyblade, chances are, if you want to be competitive, you really have to go with the meta, the new releases, because chances are that's why they are newly released, because everyone or the company wants you to get it. And as a company who does want to profit, you want to make something, a product that people will buy. And if you make this better than your earlier releases, they're going to be buying this instead of looking for the old ones in the aftermarket. So that's why I think power creep is a big deal, and it's a topic to talk about because in Beyblade, a lot of its unique selling factor as a competitive gear sport is the fact that whichever Beyblade you use, whichever type, either it's BX, UX, or CX, you still have a fighting chance because you could always do with technique. You could always find a way to take a matchup in your favor or spin the matchup to your favor if you are using the proper launch technique. But with power creep, because the CX9 is heavy, BX9 attackers such as Shark Edge really do have a hard time, and majority of the time you are giving a point away to the Pegasus Blast user or CX line user. And that's why I think the power creep here is a lot more apparent. Back then it wasn't because, with the meta, right? You're gonna see a wizard rod. It's a UX Beyblade, but you can still see a lot of other BX type Beyblades, maybe like Phoenix Wing, Dran Dagger, Whale Wave. Those are the ones that can just take it out with the proper launch technique. But when it's a light Beyblade or a light Beyblade from the earlier lines, toy lines of Beyblade versus the newer CX line Beyblade, such as this one or even the one at the back, this one Perseus Dark, you know that it's gonna be a hard matchup to face. And I guess that's just why I want to talk about power creep, because it again it does affect the meta landscape of Beyblade. And before we recap, I guess, or before we summarize or move on to the next topic, again, power creep is when Beyblades power creep is when earlier release Beyblades such as Shark Edge, a BX Time Beyblade, becomes or is rendered obsolete because of newer releases such as Pegasus Blast from the CX line. Power creep happens when you're forced to adapt to the new technology. New releases are far better than the old releases because you want to be selling the product. You want to make sure that people are buying the newer product instead of looking for the older products. And as a company who wants to profit, it's very natural for them to want to give their market or their buyers something they want to buy. And that's what happened. Even though the CX9, I am still a non-believer of the CX9, it is a very apparent thing to see that power creep is in fact being seen in our meta because of how much it actually impacts the meta game. Because as we know, Beyblade X has been around for a really long time now, and to prevent the game from getting stale, you really have to find creative ways to sell and market the product. And that is my thoughts on power creep. And why I want to tie it into our next topic is because it really affects the idea behind the Spirit Bay. So basically, a Spirit Bay is it's your Beyblade, that your go-to Beyblade, wherein if you feel like your back's against the wall, the Spirit Bay or using your Spirit Bay is what gets you that point. It's your Hail Mary pass. It's a belief, I guess. It's not really about it being meta or not, but it's your favorite Beyblade. A Spirit Bay is your favorite Beyblade, and chances are it's your last ditch effort if you are put against a corner or you have your back against the wall. And as for me, since I did want to talk about power creep, because right now, as you guys could see, this is a Shark Edge 360 on level. This was in fact my first ever Spirit Bay. A lot of it had to be because this was my Beyblade that I felt that I utilized the most. I felt like this is what gave me majority of my wins early on during my Beyblade career. And wow, Beyblade career, right? But yeah, this was my Spirit Bay because I felt like this was a build I came up with, and I felt like I was able to bring out the best of the Shark Edge, and I felt like it was something, if you were to think of me as a blader, it would have been this. But then over the course of time, it just felt dragging because the release of CX, because heavier babies started getting introduced. The Shark Edge suddenly felt like it was becoming obsolete. It was a lot harder to play him. It was a lot harder to believe in the Shark Edge as my Spirit Bay. If I were to put in a corner, it wasn't the Shark Edge I was looking for to secure me that last finish or last ditch effort to secure a point or win. And so yeah, that's why this is what happened, and that's why now my Spirit Bay has been my Spirit Bay now is actually this one. It is the Whale Wave 570 on low flat. If you guys have been following me on my other social media pages, I live and die by this Beyblade. This became my Spirit Bay because I felt like this was something I really brewed up. It has been giving me my wins, effectively giving me my wins, whether you put it against a CX, BX, or UX Beyblade. This was a Beyblade I was proud to say is my homebrew. It's my pride and joy. It's my spirit bay in the Beyblade X competitive scene. Though it is off meta, people are question this spirit bay, this whale wave 570 low flat. But I swear by this because this is, I feel like, something I put in the effort to research, to talk about, to understand. Even the launch technique I practice and everything, to the point that after this was my first iteration of the Beyblade, and I came up with a color max version. So this is the newer version. This is still whale wave on 570 low flat, and yeah, I'm proud to say this is my spirit bay because this is what, if I were put in the back, put in a corner, whatever happens, I just keep repeating that. It's my go-to. It's, if I had a Wizard Rod 960 ball and a whale wave in my deck, and I was down a point, or I was in match point, I would still pull out this and hopefully try to secure a win. And whether I win or lose, I don't mind, as long as I was able to use my Spirit Bay in that tournament. And again, so why? 570 is a heavy a blade. Whale Wave is not for scooping, but rather for smashing. So it's as if you're running a Whale Wave on 560 flat, because with the low flat, you still have that 10 millimeter. So it hits as if it was on a 60 ratchet, and we all know that 560s tend to be loose. But on the other hand, 570s are very tight. And yeah, the color max is just a color bonus and whatever. So that's my take on the Spirit Bay. And of course, it's a hot take, but people really hate on the guys who say their Spirit Bay are Meta Beyblade. They say, oh, my Spirit Bay is Aero Pegasus or Wizard Rod 960 ball. I know it's people hate on those types of people because they call them meta slaves. And well, if it's their favorite, it's their favorite. If it's their favorite because it's meta, it's the cool thing to do, maybe you should be looking into what a Spirit Bay actually is. Because again, a Spirit Bay is a definition of your personality in the Beyblade competitive scene. If people were to remember you, that's probably like a guide question. If people were to remember you in any match or any time they fought you, what Beyblade would they think of? And on your end too, what is a Beyblade you are proud to say it should be associated with you? And if maybe a Wizard Rod is associated with you, then why not? But as it stands, that's what a Spirit Bay is. And this is why I really wanted to make this video about power creep, because again, you see these Beyblades, that these are Beyblades about it. Actually, wait, let me get I think I have a UX Beyblade right here. So there you have different types of Beyblades right here. You have your UX, your BX, even Wavewave's a BX, and your CX. Power creep affects this because as much as you have a favorite Beyblade or a Spirit Bay, you can't really, if you don't use it, is it really your Spirit Bay? Is it really your favorite? Yeah, it's cool that you like a design or whatever, but I guess for me, a Spirit Bay is something you are able to use in a deck, and you can proudly use it without it being called a meme. And I know it's walking a fine line, a thin line between it being a meta slave and it being off meta or whatever you want to call it. But with power creep, a lot of people are more tend to lean towards wanting to make a winning Beyblade their CX Beyblade. Or rather, sorry, not their CX Beyblade, but rather their Spirit Bay. You won't be hearing people say that Dran Sword is their Spirit Bay just because they never get to try it out during tournaments, during locals, because again, power creep happens. Power creep just kind of gatekeeps you from trying out new things, because before CX there was Shark Edge, but then suddenly when CX got introduced, I kind of veered away from calling Shark Edge my Spirit Bay, because I wasn't able to use it. I couldn't use it in tournaments anymore because every time I'm faced with that matchup, back then it's like, okay, CDG, no problem. Wizard Rod, no problem. But then suddenly, oh, I'm facing an Pegasus Blast. I'm not gonna enjoy. I'm. Chances are, I'm gonna try my best to launch the best way I could, launch as hard as I can. But if I'm faced with this, I feel like I am automatically giving 1 point to my opponent, and that for me feels kind of bad. It sucks, and that's why I started experimenting. I started seeing what could be used in my locals, what can be used in my pods, and then here, lo and behold, before the CX9 got released, Whale Wave was that Beyblade. It was that Beyblade that I felt had that impact to actually make an impact in my deck. It was an impact in my gameplay, and lo and behold, everyone I've played with now knows me as the person who just runs Whale Wave on 570 low flat. And maybe it's because of the CX9 also, that's why that it kind of cemented me to be the one to run this. But yeah, because of power creep, because of spirit base, a lot of it can actually define and shape the way you build your deck. And let's say you are a meta slave, or you do like or enjoy the competitive nature of following the meta, having a spirit bay kind of helps you build a deck around it as well. It helps you with deck building. So if you have this, for example, my spirit bay, chances are I'm going to be running a Wizard Rod 960. Of course, I'm going to be running a bit of stamina, but at least I have that go-to attacker, and it's my comfort. So that's the nice thing about the Spirit Bay, because it's a comfort pick. So whatever matchup you're given, you already know what type of launch technique you're going to be using with it. And yeah, I think that kind of concludes my conversation, or my video regarding power creeps and spirit base. So again, this is the hobby hole. We just talked about power creep, and again, power creep is when newer products tend to make older products obsolete, whether it's a different mold they used or a different product line they released. And spirit base is your Beyblade, that your go-to Beyblade. It's your favorite one. It's what defines you as a blader, and both of these go hand in hand because one affects the other. And of course, it's always going to be about how the competitive scene looks. It's always going to be selling a new product. Again, even though Beyblade is gear sports, it's still a toy line. And as much as I want to talk, or I do have strong opinions regarding the product line of Beyblade, of course, I too want the Beyblade X scene to survive. And if releasing new products is the way to do it, I'm all for it. But of course, as a blader, as someone who loves and is very passionate about the game, it also kind of rubs me the wrong way, because of course I still have a favorite Beyblade, and to be told that your favorite Beyblade is obsolete, kind of sucks, because you can't suddenly use it during tournaments. So yeah, that's my opinion, and those are my thoughts on the topics of power creep and spirit base. So again, this is Miggy. If you like this type of content, if you guys want to see more hobby hole updates and whatnot, feel free to subscribe and follow me on my socials. It's going to be in the description box down below. Again, it's Miggy. This was an episode of Hobby Hole, and I'll see you guys next time.